Oh my goodness. So everybody, we are here together now. We just experienced an amazing spiritual experience just then. These amazing artists. And now we're going to dig deep as well, even further, using that energy, bringing it to panel discussion. And we're going to be talking about definitely how they came together and met, but also what they see the future of flamenco, soul, just like how do they feel the future of music really will be. So before we begin, I'm going to introduce a new member that you may not have seen or met yet, the amazing Dr. Meira Goldberg. She is a scholar, dancer, first off I'm going to say dancer, amazing flamenco dancer. She will tell you more about herself, but I was so honored to meet her and befriend her, and now I call her my sister because we connected so deeply in Chicago, and I went to immerse myself briefly in flamenco. So, yes, let's start. Let's start.
Hi everybody, I'm just honored to be here. My name is María. A lot of you guys know me, and I'm honored to be here. Really honored.
I'm honored too. Well, how do we start? Let's start with what we just heard. Where does this magical communion happen? Where you said at the beginning, and it was a few months ago in Sevilla, no? That you got together. You want to say a few words about that?
Well, maybe in some way Miguel started and he should start because he always has ideas. I have many ideas too, but often my ideas come and go, and then maybe he captures them in my dreams because he says, "Hey, I have an idea." I'm like, "Well, that's the idea I have." But he makes it happen because I'm a dreamer and I just dream, but then he captures them and brings them into reality. So maybe he should.
Go ahead and start.
Well, I think all started with María in Washington, D.C. 4 years ago. In the dressing rooms, somebody came and I saw her singing for the first time in English. And it was a video after the show. I wasn't even there. And I said, María, do you like? How do you do this? And she said, I love soul music. And she said, I'm sure that in another life, I was from there. But in the video, it was so true. I said, would you like really to do something like that? And then she said, I would love to be able to develop this idea. So Tim, he come to Europe many times, and every time he come, he said, Miguel, what can we do with flamenco? I'm going to be here I'm in Amsterdam, I have 3 days off, what can I do? I said, come to Seville. Come to Seville for 3 days, and let's meet with María and see what come out. So it's really just to see a dream come true in the way that María wanted to develop this, and to see this happening today really is something very, very special for all of us. So I put things together. She tells me something, I see something else. I match that.
María wants to say.
Yeah, María,
please.
lo básico, ¿no? You want to say something? ¿Quieres contarnos un poquito también de cómo empezó esto? Que además es muy reciente, ¿no? De no que tú cantes eso, sino la idea de hacerlo en el directo, ¿sí? ¿Quieres contarnos un poquito cómo fue eso?
Claro. Voy hablando en español, sí. Pues, como ha dicho Miguel, descubrió que me encantaba esta música. ¿Queréis traducir?
Yes. I discovered that she loved this music.
Y bueno, pues tuvo la gran idea de juntarnos, ¿no? Tim y yo en Sevilla, como ha dicho antes.
So it was this idea of getting them together in Seville.
Y fue un encuentro totalmente, una conexión inmediata.
It was an immediate connection.
Porque son dos músicas totalmente de raíz, que el flamenco y el soul, que son mi vida para mí.
Yeah, both music have this in common that they are from their roots.
Y bueno, esto fue para menos de un año, ¿no? Un año cuando...
It was in December last year.
Sí, de last December. Y bueno, the last time in New York, pues me encontré con Tim y con un músico increíble.
In April, when we were in New York, they met already for a couple of days.
Y tuvimos este encuentro musical, decidimos los temas y demás. Y para mí es un gran sueño que he podido cumplir gracias a Miguel y gracias a Tim, que es un maestro, ¿no? de la música.
So it was a dream that came true because of Tim.
A Miguel. Y bueno, como he dicho, es un sueño para mí cumplir esto y poder cantar en Nueva York esta música que tanto me llena el alma y me llena el corazón, al igual que mi música, que es el flamenco.
Pero ¿de dónde te viene tu afición a esta música? Where is coming from this, the liking of this music?
Pues fue un descubrimiento mío. Mi padre escuchaba mucha música, Billie Holiday, Whitney Houston, Diana Ross, muchos cantantes que le escuchaba, pero no tenía esa devoción que yo tenía.
Yeah, his father used to listen to all these great American musicians. He didn't have that devotion, but she developed the devotion and the passion for that music.
La primera vez que escuché soul se lo escuché a Whitney y me enamoré por completo y de ahí viene mi amor por esta música, porque ella es la reina, ¿no? Para mí es the queen.
First time she listened was Whitney Houston, and then she completely fell in love with that, and that was the beginning of this journey.
Y desde entonces hasta el día de hoy sigo enamorada y me moriré enamorada de la música americana, de América, de New York y de su gente.
Then she fell in love and she continued in love and is living with that love from New York, from American and your music.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So Tim, on to you. What drew you into flamenco and then this desire to broaden people's awareness and work with so many different artists and help, we already touched on it a little bit this morning, so I'm not gonna, divulge, speak your words. Please share.
Well, my father, like her father, was a musician, played the trumpet, and he introduced me to many great music when I was a child, usually jazz from Duke Ellington and Charlie Parker, but then he started driving me to the city, to Detroit, and to various places, and I got to meet a lot of Motown musicians. So I started sitting in and playing with all the people who played with, in the bass, the drums, and the guitar, and the piano, who played with all the Motown stars. So this is how I started learning, because they were all jazz musicians, but also, being a white person growing up and playing jazz music, and mostly with black musicians, I just felt very comfortable because this is the music that I loved. So, in a very strange way, I consider myself inside, not white in a way, because this is my passion. It's a very strange thing, and even when I was a child, I felt very close to black musicians and people. And when I started going to Spain and listening to flamenco, I started also feeling this very deep connection. And this could be my feeling of Jewish heritage, because it's very close to this. Also, this music has very deep roots. It's in Seville and Granada and all over Andalusia. But also the African and Muslim and Christian, everything was there together making this delicious soup. But something that happened with me that I finally became, in a way, free when I started playing flamenco. Because, I don't know how do you say this, but until I was much older, I'm older now, but even when I was into my 50, when people would say to me, oh, we really enjoyed that, thank you so much, we had a great time, and in my head, I was still living in my mistakes and the things that I did wrong. And so I would be, well, I was questioning them. I wouldn't even say, you're welcome, thank you. I would be like, you didn't, I could have done better because that was a terrible performance. And I started realizing in flamenco, everything they have is given all the time. Because the only instrument that's important is the heart. So if you give this heart all the time, and she gives this every time she opens her mouth, or it's her heart that's coming out, and it's this big. And so when I started playing with a lot of Roma musicians in Spain and also in Hungary, I do a lot of work with gypsy musicians there. I learned a lot by just accepting this and giving this. So I think that's the biggest thing for me that relates to is not getting in the way of yourself and allowing the spirit coming from a higher level. I'm sure of it has to come from this beautiful place. Accept it and let it out. And if you get in the way of it, then you're really inhibiting not only yourself, but you're not allowing people to enjoy. Because we have the gift of capturing this as musicians. And I was thinking as she was singing, she has a technique. Of course, she has a beautiful voice. She can sing the range, but it's not as important as the person. Maria is what's important. Miguel, we're all important. And the other thing is that we're important to each other. And I think flamenco, like jazz and soul music, connects each other very much. So the singer's inspired by the guitar. She hears the dance, and it brings more out of you. When you see this and you hear this energy, the soul-to-soul connection. So this is I think the thing that for me flamenco brings out, it brings me out more of myself. It allows me to just be me, and luckily, in Spain, people have accepted me in that way. Thank God, because nowhere else.
Thank you so much.
Una de las cosas, la gente en Yamaha nos dice, en el flamenco el instrumento más importante es el corazón. Y el flamenco como arte liberador. No solo mágico, sino también liberador. Qué bonito, tío.
So beautiful. So now, Meira, over to you. Please share with everybody your involvement with this amazing art form and where you were a few days ago.
Well, I'll just be quick, and I would like to talk a little bit about the topic of this gathering, which is Duende. So my name is Meira Goldberg. I'm just like you. I'm a Jewish white person who fell in love with flamenco when I was 15 years old, and I'm a flamenca now all these years later. And I've done a whole bunch of work on recuperating the blackness of flamenco and the sort of racialization of flamenco. And I was just in Sevilla presenting at the Biennale they had a very, very interesting conference about, they were celebrating the big contest that happened in 1922 in Granada of Cantejondo. It was the first contest of Cantejondo, and they were talking about other places in the world where things were happening, at a similar time. So I was actually talking with my teacher about the Harlem Renaissance and about how jazz came over to Spain at the beginning of the 20th century and was very, very important in flamenco's development way back then. And I guess I'll just use that to segue to, you know, what I think of as duende or soul, which is to say, and kind of what the blackness of that is, right? Which is to say that we remember our ancestors, and that's what's really important, I think, about flamenco. I think it's really important to say, just in case people don't know, that this young artist here is from a family of artists, and she carries a lineage of artistry. And so that is a very important aspect of flamenco, and I think it's also perhaps true in jazz, but you know, it's remembering our ancestors and kind of understanding that there's a lot of our history that we don't know, right? There's a lot of history that's been kind of hidden from us for many years, but it's right there in what we do every day. And I think you know, for Spain, you know, Spain gets very, Africa is very, all the cultures of Africa are very important in Spain, not only through the transatlantic slave trade and traveling back to Spain from the Americas where people were enslaved, but also just because Spain is like 8 miles away from the continent of Africa and has always been very, influenced by African culture. In fact, Spain was part of, you know, the Afro-Mediterranean, you know, for 800 years. So you can sort of see when you listen to María Terremoto, who has this technique and this knowledge, we could say, knowledge, embodied knowledge, we could say. I'm a dancer, so that's what I think of it as, right? You know, she has this that's millennial, right? This comes from Andalusia, right? And then yet it finds another rebirth and another way to be recreated in this contemporary music of, you know, soul music from the United States in the 20th century. So yeah, just thank you, that's all.
Can I do it? It's more like a technical question, María, una pregunta no es muy técnica, pero lo que estamos hablando arriba, cuando tú estás cantando soul, ¿no, Frank? El lugar de la voz que es más fina, ¿quieres hablar un poquito sobre que me parece muy interesante?
Pues a ver, yo sinceramente lo paso peor cantando flamenco que soul. Increíble.
She, that's hardest for her to sing flamenco than soul.
Aunque son dos músicas muy semejantes, muy parecidas, no, por la raíz, ¿no?
They are similar music for her because of the roots.
Pero el flamenco, como ha dicho Tim, es heart, es corazón, es garra, es fuerza.
And flamenco is strength, is heart.
Y yo personalmente tengo una manera de colocar la voz en el flamenco y otra en esta, pero es algo natural que yo no he ensayado ni he practicado.
The way she create the voice in flamenco is completely different than the way she create the voice in the other music, and it's completely natural. It's not nothing that she has created consciously.
Pero que son dos maneras diferentes de colocar la voz, al final el corazón es el mismo. El corazón del flamenco y el corazón del soul, del jazz, del blues, es el mismo porque son músicas raciales de raíz y vienen...
No, the heart is the same, but because all the music, the technique is different, but the heart of all this different music is the same because of the root of soul, jazz. It comes from that root.
Son músicas que el flamenco, en este caso, ¿no? el antiguo flamenco, por llamarlo de alguna forma, pues se cantaba en el campo, la gente que trabajaba para llevar la comida a su casa, que eran esclavos, entre comillas, de los ricos, ¿no?
Yeah, like in the origin, the old flamenco was sung usually by people that live in the villages, and they were kind of slaves, people that they work on the land for the rich, for the very rich people.
Y creo que la música negra, con perdón, sin ofender, que no ofenda mi expresión, es muy parecida porque también han pasado muchísimas calamidades, penurias, han sido esclavos. Y yo creo que todo eso es la conexión mágica que tiene el flamenco con el soul.
And also black music, they also went through that hardship, that hard life that has created, you feel that is also, that create this connection between both musics, the struggle.
Es algo que aunque estén muy lejos, una punta del mundo y otra en la otra punta del mundo, están muy conectadas y enlazadas y yo mi corazón lo tengo dividido en dos, que es el flamenco y el soul.
Even if they are very far away, one in the US and Spain, but they are very close, and in her heart they are divided, half flamenco, half soul.
Amazing, amazing. So I want to ask all of you, we just saw and experienced something so amazing and unique. And I know I want to see more of it. I know everybody else wants to see more of it. So how do we move forward with this and bring it to the world? Like how do we continue this into the future? How do you make this something that...
Esto que hemos hecho. Espero que esto no sea la primera vez de esto, ¿no? Espero que esto dé su fruto y bueno, me considero una persona muy inquieta musicalmente y no me gustaría solamente quedarme en el gremio flamenco, me encantaría conocer el mundo y expresar al mundo, ¿no? lo que llevo en mi corazón, que como he dicho antes lo tengo completamente dirigido por esta música.
She's very curious and has a lot of curiosity for different music, so she wouldn't like to be just categorized as a flamenco singer. She really wants to develop this and be able to express all the nuances that she has to the world.
Creo que casi nunca, voy a atreverme a decirlo, casi ninguna cantadora o cantador flamenco ha dado este paso, ¿no? Y yo creo que voy a ser la primera, si no lo soy, me voy a lanzar a tope y me voy a comer el mundo, si puedo.
No one before has done something like this, to sing in English and not another flamenco singer, so she's gonna be the first one and she's really going completely forward for
And what she's saying is absolutely true, because Meira was saying, she's not just a flamenco singer, de los buenos manantiales vienen los buenos ríos. She comes from the Terremotos, it's pretty serious. Y la cosa de venir a donde vienes y al mismo tiempo tener espacio para que el corazón te dé a hacer lo mismo en otro ámbito totalmente distinto, eso es lo que no hace nadie. La gente salta de un género a otro, people jump from one genre to another, they do styles, but doing it from the same place, con el mismo compás, con la misma verdad, eso sí que no lo hace nadie. Y queremos más. We want more.
Yo también. I'm too.
And one of the reasons of this gathering outside of, and this is the wrap-up of our Duende Festival, was also to get together with Miguel and us to start planning about what's coming next. And we already have something. Ya estamos cocinando un par de cositas para marzo, para ver cómo podemos hacer, porque el duende es transformación. Duende is transformation, but transformation doesn't happen once. It's not A to B. When you go to B, B is infinite. El B, la segunda transformación, es infinita, se te abre. Hace falta continuidad en el duende, hace falta continuidad en los proyectos. Yo no creo en la idea de que una cosa pasa una vez. I don't believe in one night stands. They're fun. Pero ya está. Like, if you don't have to marry, but... Y esto es una cosa que vamos a continuar y ya hemos empezado a hablar con Miguel a ver cómo continuamos esto. Y I'm so thankful that we could wrap up the festival like this. It's just crazy. The only thing I'm proud of really is I managed to hold my tears during the whole festival. Glory.
No, I think it's important that what we wanted to, what we are all looking for is for truth.
See.
Yes, and that is also what Duende is about. And it's not a show, it's not just a show. The show is the manifestation of a truth. So we want to answer your question about what is the next step, is that it's not just to create a show, it's really to create a connection between the artists, to have a sharing, to live together, to really bring something that is coming from a different place, not just from creating something that works. No, it's about truth, and that is about that. So that was the idea of think of possibly spending some time. When we come in April.
What I feel is not, sometimes people ask me, well, you know, you play with the Rolling Stones, you did this, jazz, Motown, you know, flamenco. I'm not a jazz musician, a flamenco musician, a rock musician, a soul musician. I'm just I'm a musician that loves to share the time with other people who have an interest in going to the next place, the unknown, you know, even being rooted in something is important. Having the roots, but also, like I studied Tai Chi for many years, and my master, from Master who died when he was 99, talked about the body as like a tree. And so the feet, when you would do something, and it actually, flamenco has some similar moves to Tai Chi. I don't know if she knows this, but when you're doing Tai Chi, all the movements are like, so he said that your legs are like the roots, or the trunk. Your toes, when they hold the ground, they're like the roots going into the ground. Your legs are like the trunk. Your arms are like the limbs, but then the fingers are the leaves. So that's why, like you know, even in flamenco has this, but this really actually is even further, goes back to Tai Chi. That movement, it's very similar. So I guess I'm thinking about this is that, you know, this freedom of expression and movement to allow this to happen. And that's not so easy, you know, meeting other dancers. And I'm really, as a child even, to this day, I dream about dancing. I can't really do the technique, but I love the movement. And sometimes I'll be playing the saxophone in my dream, and it's not enough, and I have to like start moving and dancing.
I love it. Meira, from your perspective, with having such knowledge of the history, and also your knowledge and history of the art form of dance, can you share?
I don't have too much to add to all of this, but I agree with you, Miguel, that we're looking for truth, and we're looking for what's true. And I also agree with you that this needs to continue, that this is, you know, I think people in the United States are becoming more aware of how beautiful flamenco is and how important it is, and that makes me happy. And I think a lot of flamencos in Spain have always been aware of how interesting and beautiful, you know, our culture is to them. As you say, African-American culture, which really is what our culture is. And so I just think it needs to keep going, and you know, and I know it will. I know it will.
Yeah, man, I would tell mucho. It's not the show, and that is the difference. And that's why maybe we had this horrible pandemic, to clean up the house, limpiar la casa. Las cosas que no son necesarias se van por la ventana afuera, ya se acabó. And we start with things that are relevant. And one of them, flamenco is not about the show, it's not about the dancer, it's not about the singer. It's an experience that goes beyond that. So any activity that we do, and that's why we try to do with this festival, should bridge into different things, poetry, art, and should also like allow the musicians to stay here longer to experience, con la idea de que esto no es algo que vienes, haces tu actuación y te vas. No, te tienes que quedar aquí. Queremos que te quedes. María, quédate. para que, claro, el cruzarte con la experiencia de conocer otros músicos, conocer Nueva York, que te lleven a sitios que no has estado y vivir un poco como vivimos nosotros, por ejemplo, en este caso. Y eso yo creo que el flamenco, que deje de ser solo la actuación. Y con Miguel eso me encanta. He's been doing 20 years with this year, right? The Flamenco Festival. 20 years doing flamenco festivals. And he's still alive. More alive than before. It's a lot of work. Pero la idea de cambiarlo, abrir hacia algo que no es solo la actuación, como dices tú, ¿no? Qué bonito.
So, do you want to give?
No, but yes, but thank you for this initiative of having this congress about El Duende, because it means a lot, that connection with the magic, that connection with God, that connection that we are channel of something that we cannot create just by our own means, and to be sharing that with all of you is it means a lot. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I know we have been kind of focusing on, what happens as artists and that connection and the energy and where that comes from. But I also want the audience and people to know that what comes through us and then comes out into you, and vice versa. So it's an infinite feed. So the more positive and the more love and the more we give, the more we receive. So, it's not just about, because some people may not be artists in this audience, I don't know, but you don't have to be an artist to experience that. It can be any type of creative action, anything. Cutting a cucumber, who knows, making a sandwich. But it's about that intention that you put into that. Where is it going? Who is receiving it? So that is part of why we are also presenting it at Trinity, because that is part and parcel of, the meaning of spirituality and interconnection and community. So I wanted to add that as we wrap up. And Esther, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Que muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's been amazing to have this here. Miguel, empezamos a hablar hace 3 meses, algo así, 3 months ago. We kind of knew each other, but not that much. You know my father more, I think. And I'm like, wow, here we are. María, I knew her from YouTube, right? From seeing her, I saw her live at the beginning of the year. And Tim also didn't know personally, Meira didn't know personally. I knew you a little bit personally. Es una locura, lo que en cuestión de 2 semanas, you came at the end, I vine al final, but what has been happening here for 2 weeks, when we started with Antonio, Ray, and the dance classes, the poetry workshop, the event we did, something happened. This is a place that allows that. Este lugar permite esa magia. O sea, está ya muy cargado, como lo habéis sentido desde el inicio. Pero ahora sí que está cargado. Así que de verdad, de todo, yo no sé si lo tengo partido, tengo 2 corazones o no sé cuántos, pero de todo lo que tengo, muchísimas gracias a todos. Y gracias a Carla por haber creído en esto desde el inicio, cuando yo le vine con el proyecto. También hace 6 meses. Y dijo, vamos. Y vamos.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Ernesto. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, new friends. Thank you, audience. Thank you, everybody.
María.